this little 30 years talk earlier on, which gave you the perspective of Connect magazine, of the editorial dimension about networks and network testing and the quality. But we certainly know, and we are very happy that this is the case, that the operators, of course, are very active in this field too. And one of the people who deals with these kind of questions every day is our next presenter, Mr. Michael Langer from Vodafone. He's the head of network quality, network evolution, and innovation, which sounds very interesting as a job description. And he used to be the VP for technology engineering at Unity Media, which is nowadays part of Vodafone, and also played this role at Liberty Global, which was Unity Media's mother company at the time. And he will give us some insight on the operator's view on network testing. The topic is quality benchmarks from a customer perspective. Michael, we're looking forward to your presentation.
Thank you, Rainer. Well, I have to say it feels a bit difficult now after we heard so much about innovative edge technology, just this presentation about touch. Before the panel, really interesting what's going on here, and then talk about something like network quality. So let me start first to say that also we as Vodafone are embracing new technologies because we know it's important for us to advance the networks and it's to survive. So we are also investing here, and especially here in Dresden, because it's what we have seen in the panel discussion. It's really Silicon Saxony with a lot of good skilled people. And we are starting to build here our Vodafone Technology Innovation Center in the new innovation park in Dresden. Currently, it's still in the Alte Gießerei, Glaserei, but we are constructing this new building. And we are starting with a team of 50 people led by Ralf Irmer, who is also in the audience today. And we have people there with artificial intelligence skills, virtual reality, very data engineering. And we are approaching cross-domain in the different industries about health, security, agriculture, automotive, and doing a lot of projects with them to understand the 5G use cases and to really unleash the 5G capabilities, how we can really use them in the industry, to help the industry. So two projects maybe to highlight. This is the Landnetz 5G Agro. It's a cooperation with the Technical University of Dresden in agriculture, where we provide the 5G network, or in Southern Saxony with Deutsche Bahn, a driverless train leveraging 5G slicing technology. It's important to work, what we understand, with those industry, and we heard this morning from Enrique as well. It's important to work with the industry to understand what they really expect, what they need from the network, what do they expect from the network. So this brings me to quality, because at the end of the day, we are a network operator, and we have to provide a good service to our customers. So let's see, how do we rate the quality of a network? So there are things like, we heard about speed, bandwidth, latency. We just talked about this all this morning. Christian talked about latency quite at length. Availability, stability, and something goes wrong, good customer service. So that's one way, network view, how to rate the quality of a network. But the customer view is probably something like this: mobile and Wi-Fi coverage everywhere. So we heard Minister Kretschmer complaining about the Vodafone network when he came here this morning. That's what the customer is expecting: excellent service experience, no interruption in the service. And if something goes wrong, best support whenever, at time. And at the end of the day, not to forget, good value for money. That's important for customers. So what I say, customer happiness is somehow a function of reality and expectation. Reality, what's really there, and what is expected by the customer. And let's talk a bit about what it means. I will now talk a bit more about fixed networks. So we talked about mobile today, but let's talk about a bit good old fixed network. And what does it mean, expectation in the fixed network? Because the problem in the fixed network is, when you're at home, broadband at home, internet connectivity at home is taken as a given. You just have it. You come home, open your laptop, and use the internet, and you expect it to be online. Your kids come home, or at least I know from my kids coming home, disappearing in their rooms. They only come out saying, "Daddy, something's wrong with the internet." So it's taken as a given, like electricity and water. And when it's taken as a given, you can execute very well to provide this basic service, but it's very hard to delight the customer. Or when was the last time when you drink a tap of water from your water tap and saying, wow, fantastic water supply I have. Yeah? Or, oh, my tap is charged, fantastic, perfect electricity supplier. Yeah? You don't recognize it. But if it's not there, then you recognize it. And that's also reflected in customer surveys. So this is a survey from the US, but it doesn't matter. It's about NPS, Net Promoter Score. And they compared Net Promoter Score from different industries or business with the telco. And you can see, department store experience, tablets, travel agencies, online shopping, all the stuff have good values in terms of NPS. And on the bottom here, internet service, cable, satellite TV, 1, -1. Yeah? So that's where we're starting from. It's taking as a given. Though there's not much chance to delight the customers, but many things can go wrong to frustrate the customer. And let me talk about a bit expectation and changes on the expectation. I want to show you a bit the change in fixed network traffic, what we have seen during COVID. This is the traffic curve in week 11, 2020. So just 1 week before the first German lockdown. Upstream traffic in our fixed network from Monday till Sunday, and you can see the classic traffic curve. Yeah? Starting growing over the day, peaking somewhere between 6 and 9 o'clock in the evening, the classic busy hour, what we use to plan and dimension our networks, and then it's going down in the night. After midnight, sharp down, people go to bed, and the next morning start again. Typical curve like we always had it for years. And I show you the curve, how it looks like 1 year later in the sharpest lockdown we had in Germany. And this is week 7, 2021. So you can see the red curve. It's starting in the morning at 9 o'clock, peaking first time, online schooling, online working, maybe some dips at the lunchtime to have a break, and staying up, still a peak around in the evening, and also after 12 o'clock, still later, because people stay at home. They can sleep longer in the morning, so they watch longer TV or something like this. So this was the traffic there, overnight, basically. So you see almost double or more traffic to the day. And this is for a network which was built for consumer, to consume TV in the past, and we upgraded it to make it also internet-ready and voice. And a consumer cable network suddenly became overnight a business data network. Because you work from home, like you go in the office, you expect just connectivity to be there all the day, and you're online all the day, so you feel every deterioration of the performance of the network, you see it directly. And that was a big challenge, and it's expected to be there. And for us, it means this is a week from last week, so the green curve now, you can see it's a bit back to normal. We have still the classic busy hour now. And you can see Friday is the home working day, still very busy there. And I don't have a curve because something else also happened. Since last year, Amazon Prime has the rights to stream the Champions League games, or live events, streaming events, special challenge. So in those weeks, you have a big peak here on Tuesdays, which goes double as high. Yeah? And so this is about expectation and change in reality, what it really means. And I want to show you another aspect in terms of expectation and reality. And this is a challenge we have as cable operators or fiber operators, where we really offer high speed above 250 megabit per second. When I do a speed test, which I did last week at home, when I prepared for this presentation, I do it with my laptop, connected via Wi-Fi to my home gateway, and do a test. This is the result: 185 download, 43 upload, 22 milliseconds ping. Not too bad, you would say. However, the product I have booked is 1 gigabit. 1 gigabit. So when we started to launch those kind of services, we got a lot of customer calls saying, well, you sold me 500 megabit by only getting 60 or 100. And it's, of course, the Wi-Fi bridge you measure via Wi-Fi. Very often the home equipment of a customer is not able to really transport a gigabit. Yeah? So we developed a two-step speed test saying, okay, the measured speed is not matching the product. We're checking this, and then we trigger a second step of the speed test, where we measure the speed received by the home gateway before the Wi-Fi bridge. And then you see the speed is delivered, and we see in the statistics that in more than 95% of the cases, the network delivers the speed, what is expected, what has been booked. But the customer perception is, of course, a different one because of the Wi-Fi. We use this also to get in contact with the customer, to offer him options how he can optimize his home network, change the position of the gateway, use extenders, or we recently also launched a software called Super WLAN, where it's self-optimizing software on the device to optimize the Wi-Fi settings. This is a challenge for cable operators. DSL networks don't have this problem, but cable operators, FTTH operators, have this challenge. And what cloud-based test methodologies measure is this one. That's the view. It's a customer view, but this is the reality of the network. So let's talk a bit about mobile. And we talked about Professor Fettweis, one of his startup companies. We told 14 was it. He founded here. One of them was founded in 2008 here in Dresden, and developing a tool what we call NetPerform. I think the older name was RadioOpt. NetPerform is basically a tool which is embedded in a mobile app, in the My Vodafone app, and is doing measurements in the background on the network. Latency, speed, coverage, 4G, 5G, non-coverage, outages, and so on. And based on this, we have about 40 million test samples, basically, test points across the whole Vodafone group footprint, providing us a lot of details across all markets about the performance of our network. And we're using this tool now, this measuring from the customer perspective, because it's on the mobile. We use this tool very much now, basically to optimize our network and to plan the expansion of our network, NetPerform. So it's all about making, what I always say, making customer experience measurable. So I talked about the speed test, I talked about NetPerform. I want to mention another tool that we developed, which we call cable customer experience accounting. Sounds a bit complicated, but what it is for our cable network, we can measure per cable modem the performance of the network, different KPIs, and we can see all kind of deteriorations, congestion, some bad signal quality, low latency, and these kind of things. And we collect those, let's say, network deteriorations a customer is experiencing on this personal customer account, so that we have per customer a history of, let's say, deterioration events. And we can calculate by this, by correlating this with customer feedback, where we can develop its customer score and can predict this customer will have this happiness score or this happiness score. And we can aggregate this on a segment level and can therefore identify segments that need improvement from a customer experience point of view. And we're using this now to optimize our cable network further, really to cope with the demand and to cope with the customer's expectations. We also have 9,000 probes in the network, in our fixed network in Germany, and managing a friendly user community based on friendly customers or employees who are running those probes. They're small Raspberry Pipes connected via LAN port to the CPE, which do a lot of measurements. In parallel, we also do surveys with those customers to understand how network performance is perceived by the customer. And last but not least, we know that in-home connectivity Wi-Fi is a key factor in customer happiness in fixed network. And therefore, we are investing here with the Super WLAN software where we can improve customers' Wi-Fi experience. So it's all about optimizing the network, what I always say, for the maximized customer benefit. That's it, what we try to do at Vodafone, really tune our network based on those metrics to really optimize customer experience. So in mobile network, providing more than 65 million now with 5G coverage. We lowered the drop call rate and increased the busy hour call success setup rate and activated 5G standalone for low latency. We did a good result. We talked about a benchmark test before, and we are quite proud to get a good result from the latest famous Connect mobile network test. This was, I think, in January, the outage, submission. And then, we will, in terms of fixed network, you probably read it, we are building new fiber connections, FTTH connections, about 7 million households we want to connect over the next 6 years, which is the joint venture with Altis called OXG. And the idea is, of course, to share the infrastructure or open access. In our cable network, provided today already 24 million households with gigabit speed, we invested a lot. You have seen what happened during Corona, the load on the network, so we are investing a lot, making more segments, building more cable segments, bringing more in capacity, stability into the network. 2,600 alone last year. This year we will double this. So still heavy investment in our cable network. And as I said, a modernization of our CPE footprint plays a very important role. We have now already more than 1.5 million Wi-Fi 6 CPEs in the network, growing and rolling out Super WLAN. And we see first results. So there were some benchmark tests from chip, from computer build, where we see good results, good ratings. So we see the effort we are putting into the network seems to resonate. And talking about benchmark, before I come to the end, let me talk a bit about benchmark testing. You know, in all the markets where we are operating, this is high competitive markets, mobile, fixed, highly competitive markets. And when you have highly competitive markets, you have benchmarks. You can't avoid it. They are there. And you have to deal with this. And we are doing this in all of the markets. But when I talked with our new Vodafone Germany CEO, Philipp Rogge, the other day, he's saying, Michael, I'm not sure. I'm not really interested in winning benchmarks. Better to invest the money to get a better customer experience. So I'm saying our expectation from the benchmark is, benchmark makes sense, but the network benchmark should not be limited by the capabilities of the measurement methodology. It should really achieve two things. First of all, is reflect customer value, really representing really what drives customer experience, and focus on this one. And the second point is, also important, the benchmark results should allow us as a network operator to optimize the network where it's mostly needed from this one. And if the benchmark fulfills this, fully supportive. This makes sense. And that's, I think, we should work on towards this kind of benchmarks. For a fixed benchmark, let me say what my expectation would be for a fixed benchmark. First of all, you should be able to differentiate between the XX technologies, DSL, cable, or FTTH. It doesn't make sense to put all those samples into one pot because the customer is either experiencing DSL, cable, or FTTH. Secondly, it should be able to measure gigabit speed when it's offered. And lastly, but not least, also look at customer value. Yeah? Because you see in all those web pages, Check24 and all those web pages where you compare, you know, a new coffee machine or something, there's always the winner of the test, the best performing device, but there's always a Preis-Leistungssieger, best value for money. And I think this is important for customers. So overall, earning the trust of the customer, and while delivering what we promise to the customer, because we are good in promising, and optimize the network, you know, to maximize the customer benefit and experience. That's what the journey we are on at Vodafone, and be it the consumers or be it future enterprise customers in 5G use cases, it's important to understand this and to gain the trust of the customers. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. And speaking as a Connect editor, I could not agree more. Please don't optimize networks for the benchmarking. Please optimize it for your customers. Yes. And then the benchmark will follow automatically. That's the basic idea about that.
Discuss what's right for the customer with us.
Exactly, exactly. Because our customers are your readers, the readers of your magazine.
So that's going to be interesting. Hartmut has a question for Michael.
I know that there is a difference between the output of my Wi-Fi system and the output of my cable system at home. But what is your recommendation to a typical customer? How you could get the real advantage of 1 gigabit at home?
So one thing is, of course, you need to, there are means to optimize your Wi-Fi connectivity, really. Yeah, and there are tools to do this. But it's also you say, do I need gigabit really? A gigabit probably not alone for an application. But if you sum it up with, we talked this morning about virtual reality and all these kind of use cases. And if you have households with many family members, everyone is doing something, then you need bandwidth. Maybe not yet a gigabit, but it will come to gigabit. And this is very often forgotten. It's not the single user. It's if you look at my family and we saw the COVID lockdown situation, you create a lot of traffic.
With everybody looking at their own video stream at the same time. Yeah, exactly. I think we had another question over there. Yeah, in the front. Sorry, Henning. We want, or maybe Henning first, and you'll be next.
Okay, thank you. I make every Friday overview about network new built stations in Germany, and I get information from Telekom, Vodafone, and O2. And if I compare, I have a list of Deutsche Telekom, let's say 100 stations, and Vodafone, let's have 10 stations. So the impression is Vodafone isn't building new stations, or don't I have the right sources about your network improvements?
I have different numbers in mind, so maybe we need to check the sources, because I can't tell you the exact number, but it's more than 10. What was it? Which time frame? You said 10 stations in a quarter?
Every week. On presseportal.de, your press department announces some stations on railroad tracks, but I'm missing something.
So it's about new sites, and it's also about activation of new frequencies and these kind of. These are all measures we are taking. But I need to get back to you with the numbers. I have higher numbers in mind. What I heard. Yeah.
What is the future plan for your cable landline network to bring the customer experience more forward? Because the main trouble starts when too many households are connected with one node in the coax cable. And of course, like you said, you use more fiber, you make those knots smaller, but what is the future for the cable? Do you go to more fiber or the new standard?
Yeah. So as I said,
DOCSIS 4.0.
Yes. Yeah. So DOCSIS 4.0 is definitely an interesting one to look at. What we are currently following is we invest more in cable and do more segmentation, because you're right, it's a shared medium, and the smaller the segments are, the more medium it can be, shared for a single customer. We believe with segment sizes around 150, 120 people and connected, and the different use of the spectrum, we can offer on those segments the same speeds and bandwidth like a FTTH GPON. So that's the strategy one, to further segment our cable network and to build smaller segments. But in parallel, of course, we understand the long-term game is FTTH, so therefore we are having this this joint venture with Altis, where we build the fiber connections. But we will keep on investing in the cable network, because we can already provide 24 million households. So yeah, exactly.
A lot of people are happy with the network.
And it delivers the speed. Yeah, exactly.
Excellent. So thank you very much for the presentation. Michael will be around in the coffee breaks and on the boat tonight as well, so there is plenty of opportunity to talk with him about network quality in more detail. But let's have a look what